So I do think we're live now. There we go. I think we got everything going. Cool. Hello, everyone. It is time once again for Workshop Wednesday. In this case, Kitchen Wednesday. I don't know. Doing stuff in the kitchen. And today I'm going to try making dango from the manga cookbook, which is a lovely little book here. And this may go really, really poorly. This is the page about dango. Because I've been looking online at various recipes, and boy, have I found a lot of different versions. Some of them call for like twice as much liquid as flour, and some have called for like half as much liquid as flour. So a lot of inconsistencies there. Don't know why. But we're going to follow the recipe in the manga cookbook pretty closely, and we're going to see what happens. So I've got my stand mixer over here. Let's go ahead and switch over so you can see that a little better. So there's a stand mixer. And I'm going to go ahead and measure in. Is that good? Yeah. I've got my Mochiko sweet rice flour. Actually, let's go back. So this is Mochiko's sweet rice flour, which is a particular kind of flour you kind of need for this stuff. Wow, and that just went everywhere. Okay. So it's a very, actually it's kind of cornstarchy in consistency. So I'm just going to measure that into a measuring cup. I'm trying for 1 1/4 cups of it. That's not quite there. Yeah, very cornstarch in consistency. Trying to get that even. Nope, not quite. There we go. So that's a 1 1/4 cups. So I'm going to pour that in here. Now this recipe actually calls for 2 types of rice flour, but I don't actually have those. I couldn't find those. So it's Joshinko and Shirotamako are the 2 kinds of flour typically used. But if you don't have that, you can substitute both of them for mochiko. So I'm going to go with that. And then we're going to add, what was it? 2 tablespoons of sugar. Just to sweeten it up. And again, I've seen recipes with a lot more sugar than this, but we're going to start here. 2 tablespoons? Yes, tablespoons of sugar. There we go. And now I'm going to mix those up. And I'm just going to use the straight up paddle attachment. Let me show you what we got here. So paddle attachment. And I'm just going to put this in here and mix just with the paddle attachment on low just to mix that together. A little higher. A little higher. Now that's not going to mix it in, entirely, but I think enough for what we're doing here. I could use a whisk to really put it all in there, but I'm going to try this much. That should incorporate the sugar pretty well. And now we're going to start adding water. Now, this recipe calls for how much? Half cup, and then 2 tablespoons of water, which again, seems like not much, but we're going to go with that anyway. So let me go ahead and I'm going to get some hot water going here. And I'm going to add this, and I actually have a dough hook here, which I'm going to switch over to once this starts to incorporate. So it's half a cup, and technically, what is it, 2 tablespoons of water. And just for fun, I'll go ahead and add that in. Okay. So I'm going to start mixing this. Pour in some of this hot water slowly in small batches. and it's starting to come together a little bit. Let's see if we can't do a better look in there. There we are. Definitely still quite dry though. Let me add a bit more water. A bit more than that. Alright, that's all the water. I'm going to pick it up a notch to see if that starts to incorporate. That looks very dry. Yeah, I'm not feeling this yet. So here's what we've got. So you can see it's still quite crumbly. So yeah, this isn't feeling right to me. Let me just. It might be able to come together. Let's try a bit more. Often with doughs like this, they become a particular consistency, and then almost magically, they just come together into the dough you're looking for. And this is starting to form. Yeah, it is starting to clump. Okay. Yep, we're trying to get something like that's closer to a dough. Alright. Now I'm going to try swapping out for the dough hook. And we'll see what we get. A dough hook is in a way a much gentler thing because it's so much smaller. Now, I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, this is not the right dough for that. It's too crumbly. Whoa! Sorry. There we are. Yeah, this dough hook isn't going to be able to like grab onto this dough. So I'm going to move that to the side and re-engage this. Oh, that is, yeah, look at that. You've got a dough here, pretty much. Continuing this until it clumps up. Alright. Yeah, that's a clumped up dough. Now, it smells not particularly sweet, not particularly amazing at this point. But that's okay. So now we need to divide this out into 3 parts because dango is traditionally... Hey, Gorilla. Yep, it's coming together. Traditionally, dango comes in multicolored form, red, white, and green. And we're going to give that a try here. It feels like these are going to be not particularly sweet, like I said, but we'll see. So, first things first, let us pull this out, and I'm going to move this out of the way because we definitely do not have space for this. So this will just go over here for now. And now, wait a minute. Aha. So let's try this. I'm going to put the dango on a scale so I know how much I have to work with. Because I want to divide this up into thirds for our red, white, and green. And I don't want to eyeball it. I want to know what I actually have. So this is our dough. It's very, very clay-like. And we've got, how much? Let's get all of it on here. This may be a bit too stiff, actually. 368 grams. So, that's going to be 175 grams each. No, 125 grams each. 125 grams each. So, let's do that. Ooh. That's some weird coloration. I'm going to pull a little bit off. I need 125 grams. That's 102. It's 110. 117. 120. I'll stop there. And then it's funny. This does not look like that's 200. Yeah, 245. So 120, 122. All right. So I now have my doughs, and so now what we're gonna do is divide them up. So I got 3 bowls here, one for each thing. We're gonna leave one white because we want some white dango. Do they say how big each of these should be? Bite-sized balls. That's okay. We'll measure again to get a feel for how big these should be. So we have one white that'll stay. We have one that's going to be our green matcha. And fortunately, I happen to have some green matcha right here. And then the third will be red, which is just red food coloring. Dango are often served with a sauce. So I may have to do that. I mean, I have some like bottled teriyaki sauce in the fridge, so I may just drizzle that over it if I need to. Okay. Well, let's see here. So we're going to start with the matcha. 2 teaspoons of matcha powder they're calling for. Seems like a lot. So this is a can of, So this is a can of matcha powder, which I've opened up, which actually has a bag in it. So we're gonna get into that bag. There's not much matcha in here at all. So this should be pure green powder, and sure enough it is. So there's our matcha. And we're going to need 2 teaspoons of it. Which again, seems like quite a bit. I might just go with 1. Come on out. There we go. Let's start with 1 and work that in. And so I'm just going to grab that and work it in. Yeah, this seems way too stiff. They're describing a much more pliable dough than this. And I don't think it is my my blender. I think it's the amount of water. I think they screwed up the amount of water needed for a recipe of dango. So we may have to try this again. We'll see what these end up being like and tasting like. I definitely did not need more than a teaspoon of water or matcha powder. Oh, sorry. Switch back. Come on. There we go. So here's our green matcha. So I'm making matcha. I'm sorry. I'm making dango, which are a sweet treat common in Japan. And we're just trying to get this green tea powder worked into this particular dough. Typically with dough, you don't want to overwork it because that will change the nature of the dough. It'll make it less nice. But since I need to work this powder in, like I don't have much choice. There we go. We're starting to get a uniform color there. Yeah. All right. There we are. Okay. That's pretty uniform to me. There's our green matcha. I'm going to wash my hands again. Actually, so this stuff's gonna get boiled, which may seem crazy, but apparently that is how it's done. So I'm going to grab, 1 second. There we go. Pot of boiling water. So I'm gonna start some water in a pot. What's the easiest? I've got a lot of things around here. Just move this over here. So we're just gonna fill up this pot. We're not gonna fill it actually, but I'm going to put some hot water in here. Fill it about halfway, I think. So I'll put the dango in here. They'll sink to the bottom. Once they float to the top, they're cooked, apparently. And we're gonna find out how true that is. So let that go. Basically, I'm doing this now because the water needs to come to a boil, which will take a few minutes. And while that's happening, I can do the red food coloring in the other dango. And also, that's about half full. Crunch. There we go. We'll also need to divide these into the individual, dango balls. All right, so that's going. Let's go ahead now, move some things out of the way. I'm just gonna put my matcha powder away. Fairly important. So we need some food coloring. Do they have any recommendations? 1 drop of red food coloring. Okay. Beep. Oops. There we go. So there's our little drop of food coloring. I'm just going to work that in. Food coloring will get all over my hands. That is kind of inescapable when working with food coloring. But we're just going to work that. And hopefully that will make it a nice... I mean, it's probably not going to become a violent red color, but it should get at least pinkish as we work that in. Or maybe their food coloring is a lot stronger than mine. We'll see. And this does not look like it's going to get too strong. I kind of like a strongly red dango, personally. But let's keep on going at it and see what we get. See, I think next time I would definitely add more water. So instead of half a cup, I'd go with maybe 3/4 or a little more than that. And see what that gets us. This is feeling a little... like I said, a little stiff. But we'll see. I do not know. So this is definitely it's a nice pinkish color. It could be stronger. But I think I'm going to stick with this. Like I said, I would normally, when I think of dango, again, I haven't seen much dango. So maybe this pinkish color is okay. So yeah. Okay. That's looking pretty uniform in color, a little striated, but I'm fine with that. Okay, now again, we need to divide these into equal parts. I'm going to try doing these in quarters. How big are those? That looks about right. So we're going to do, and I'm not weighing these. I'm just dividing them in rough quarters. I think that'll work. Oh, now let me wash my hands because I have some red food coloring on my hands. So if I don't wash them out, some of it might get on the other dango and color them, which is not what we want. Okay, so we'll do that, and then I will probably end up doing the white next because that has no coloration. Oop. Need to be a little drier. When I'm working with doughs, I often use paper towels because that really gets into nooks and crannies, like under the fingernails and such. Yeah, and you can see this hasn't even started boiling yet, so glad I started ahead of time. So again, I'm just dividing up these dango into halves and then into halves again. We're gonna go with that for the size of our dango. I'll probably come back here and make them into like better sized balls. Okay. And then same thing with the matcha. And I'm just trying to be reasonably even with these. Yeah, these seem very, very heavy. So we definitely need more water than this recipe calls for. Maybe that's something to do with the different kinds of flour. Who knows? Okay, I've got a little bit of dough there, but nothing too bad. So I'm getting no bubbles yet on the surface, but a little bit of steam. So this should start bubbling here pretty quickly. So now, yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and first off, I'm going to roll up these into very, much more circular balls. I do have some bamboo skewers, so I'll grab those, because those are apparently traditional. So I'm just rolling these between my palms to get this nice and firm. Right. We want spheres here, otherwise they'll cook unevenly. So I'm trying to be fairly firm with that. And again, if this were a sweet shop, I would be measuring these precisely. But this is not a sweet shop. And I'm just experimenting here. One of the things I've learned in cooking is to beware of being too precise when you're first starting out with something. Precision is actually really useful and really important when you're doing, for some aspects of this, like if you're trying to get a recipe really nailed down, you want to know exactly how much of a given thing you're putting into your recipe, so you can then go back and say, okay, I need to pull back on that by 10% or 20%. But when you're in this like very early experimental phase where you're just trying something out for the first time, you usually want to follow like an existing recipe closely, so you have a base to start with. But also, you're going to change things. This is not going to be the ideal starting point necessarily, so you can be a little more forgiving in terms of how consistent things are. All about just experimentation and trying stuff. So I'm seeing more frequent wisps of smoke and a few little bubbles on the surface of the boiling water, or of the pot of water. Not boiling just yet. So we should be hitting simmer here in a minute or two, and then hopefully not long after that, some boiling. Okay. And so the idea here is you put these in, you boil them, and then you bring them out. Now, one point they make is that when you put these in, they will start to color the water. So if I put the red ones in, when they pop out, the water will be slightly red and might color like the white dango. So they say always cook the white dango first, and then we'll see how much the other colors actually affect things. I do not know. It could be that the red's not enough to affect the green and vice versa. We'll find out. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and grab. Do they say remove them from the water and then? Okay. So I'm just going to grab a plate and put it off to the side. I'm going to grab some skewers that we will use here in a little bit. So these are just some straight up bamboo skewers. I think these are 8 inches. Yep. And actually now's a good time. I guess I did not open these before. So now is a good moment to open our skewers. And so that will happen. Come on, come on. It even says, like, open here, but I cannot. Oh, do you do? Ah, cool, okay. Took some getting used to what they meant by that, but here we go. Did not help much. The tape just broke. But I can get that off. Okay. My trash can is completely full, which is why I'm not throwing a bunch of stuff in the trash can. I'm kind of putting it off to the side. I should have taken care of that before I started, but I did not. So that's on me. So I'll have some of these skewers ready to go. So traditionally you put, they say, I think it's going to be red on the bottom, then white, then green. We'll find out. Actually, I don't want to cap that yet. We're starting to get some stuff. Oh, there's some stuff in the bottom of that. Interesting. I'm going to skim off with some bits here. Yeah. Looks like there's some remnants of a little something on the bottom of this from a previous bake. So I'm just going to, previous use. I'm just going to pull that off. Again, this is all experimentation. What is that, I wonder? Looks caramelized. So yeah, this is clearly not going to be the best pot for this. Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, I definitely got some gunk on the bottom that was left there from something, and it's coming up. So I may not eat these, but I can at least cook them. I don't have. Now that's really my only deep pot. Well, I could. You know what we're gonna do? Change of plans. All right. I don't trust that, so I'm gonna go with this smaller pot. Let me move this out of the way. Keep the burner going. Ouch. Okay. So yeah, that pot might not be around much longer. Such is life. All right. Now this should come to a boil much faster. So yeah, we do have to wait a little bit on this, but since it's a smaller pot with less water, it'll take less time to come to a boil. And actually, while I'm here, one way of speeding that up. So I'm going to speed up that boil by putting a lid on it. And that should help with that. Meanwhile, I'll also start putting some of these dishes away. So I have fewer things sitting around. There we go. I just used that for the, yeah, that's fine. So the lid should speed up cooking. Or speed up boiling. And I'm just going to throw some water in here into my dishes. One really useful efficiency here when you're doing cooking is to clean as you go. So as you have moments, you can pause and get a little ahead on your cleaning. And so when you're done, you're done. You know? Alright, so that'll go in there, and we'll just give that a try. Yeah, well, let's see. I'm going to smell these. It smells like dough. It smells kind of yeasty. Ricey as well. But it has that, that kind of glutinous smell of like a sourdough starter or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, there's some nastiness in there. Ugh. Alright. You're going away. How are we doing on this? It's pretty hot. Alright, I've got some bubbles on the bottom. So that should boil here in a moment. Again, apologies for the delay. So yeah, dango are a traditional sweet. They're served on skewers as 3 little individual cooked balls, and often with a glaze or something else, added on to them as accompaniment. And that is the thing that we will see if it's worth if they're worth that for this particular outing. If not, that's okay. All right, I'm going to take the lid off. There we go. I'm getting a few bubbles on the surface. So this should boil shortly. Some bubbles rising to the surface there. Let me go ahead and switch over and give you a better view of that. Unfortunately, I can't zoom in from here, but maybe we can. There we are. So we've got, starting to get a little hotter. The bubbles are rising to the surface more often. There are more of them, but they're really, really tiny. So we're not even at a simmer yet. Simmer would be many small bubbles on the surface, while a boil is many big bubbles on the surface. And so we're starting to close in on simmer here. Once we do boil, we will pop these in. So I think what we'll do is, the nice thing about this actually is I can do the 4 white dango, pull them off, red dango, green dango, and we'll see. And it says to, take one of each, we're going to move from the water. Alright. Also, I will need something with which to pull them out. So, from doing a little research, I need to do a little bit of peanut on this. There we go. You need to pull the dango out of the water, obviously. Oh, getting to a simmer. Nearly simmer. And that's difficult because they're delicate. So I've got a slotted spoon here that I'll be using. So hopefully I can just scoop them out with this. That's the idea. Good. So we're actually moving pretty much right past simmer. We're pretty much at a boil at this point. A lot of bubbles. Some big bubbles there. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? That's about a boil. And I'm seeing several big bubbles, not a huge amount. Now I'm seeing big bubbles. So, in they go. You can kind of be careful. Apparently they will drop to the bottom. And then when they float, they're done. And they will go over on this plate over here. You can't see very well, can you? So let's move this over here so we can see this a little bit more as they come out. So they're all still on the bottom right now. I can leave this wet because when it goes into the hot water, it's going to get wet again. I'm just going to shake them a little bit. I don't want them to stick to the bottom. In fact, let me grab 2 huge bamboo skewers. I like these because I can just use those to push things around. Very common thing in Asian cooking. And still doing it, still going. I also worry because we do know these are heavy. You know, these came out very thick, that they might not pop to the surface. We'll see. Obviously, if they were lighter, then they would, cook and then. So that might affect our recipe. These may just fail completely right here. Don't know. Gonna find out. This is part of the fun, learning stuff. Watching water makes it boil faster. Exactly. That is very true. Yes, and now it's just a waiting game. My recipe from the manga cookbook does not tell you how long it takes to boil them. And this may seem like a significant oversight, but it's actually a common thing in more professional recipes because many different factors often impact how long something will take to, boil or rise or what have you. So often, if you don't see that, it means it will happen when a certain threshold is reached, but not necessarily in a certain amount of time. It may take 5 minutes, it may take 10 minutes, it may take 20 minutes. And it's a matter of, you need to watch for it popping up to the surface or getting a certain color or what have you. Okay. They're moving around a bit. Let me just move them in there so they're not sticking. They're not sticking. they still feel very heavy. So yeah, this might not work out at all. We'll find out. But like I said, I don't know if this might take 15 minutes for all I know. I would assume it would only take a few minutes. Most of these sort of easy Japanese cooking recipes are from the end of the spectrum of Japanese cooking that is quick. Obviously, there's a lot of involved Japanese cooking that requires hours, tending something. But there's a large, also a large amount of standard Japanese cooking that is just very easy and very quick, designed to take again 5-10 minutes to put together and prep, and maybe something needs to sit there cooking for a little while. But we're not talking hours. We're talking 10-15 minutes. So that's what I would expect out of this. But again, I do not know. And again, I followed the recipe, so that was the amount of water they said to put in there. But it felt very, very sticky. Now, granted, when I did the when I used the mixer to mix that in, that may have made them too heavy. It may have needed a lighter touch for all that to come together. Who knows? Cannot tell. The other problem is the water here is pretty close to the top, so it's hard for me to tell when they're actually going to pop up to the top, because they're just barely submerged by maybe 1/4 of an inch below the water, which should be enough to cook them. But if they pop up to the top, that might cause them to they're bounce around, whatever, right? I don't know. The other thing is though, now they are starting to bounce. So instead of just sitting on the bottom, they're now moving around a little bit, which indicates to me that they're starting to get lighter. That's about the only explanation. So if they're going to pop up to the top, that would indicate that they're getting ready to do that. I'm going to move them around a little bit, just to keep them from sticking. It feels like they're a little bit higher in there, but I can't really tell. The drawing in the book shows that these things are bobbing on the surface. So over half of the dango is out of the water once they rise up, and these are completely submerged still. So I'm certainly not there yet, but I am seeing them tumble in the water. So I'm feeling pretty good. So yeah, I just gotta keep watching it. Yeah, one of them's starting to come to the surface. It's breaking the surface. Okay, it's working. Cool. All right, that's good to know. In fact, let me swap back. Hopefully, I can show you here. And my setup here is a little bit off, but you can see we're starting to see some of these dango break the surface. They're certainly not on the surface yet, but they're lighter than they were before. All right. So we'll give them a few more minutes. This is certainly a lengthy situation. Why is that not? There we go. Okay, so we certainly now have the tops of them are now above the liquid. So I'm trying to figure out at what point do we consider them floating? I mean, these have floated to the surface, but just barely. On the other hand, also, we know they're heavy. So this could be as high up as they're going to get. All right, I'll give them another minute. Let's do that. And see what happens. Because again, this is all experimentation. The other weird thing about boiling them is they're not going to get any. They're not going to change color, so they won't get golden brown or anything. So it's going to be really difficult for me to tell if they're done or not. Other than by this. Now these are now getting a little higher up than the other ones. Yeah, they're definitely floating, but they're still pretty much just on the surface. So another half minute or so. Rise, my dango, rise, rise! All right. You are starting to get actually a slight color change. Like slightly yellowed here. Okay. So let's go ahead and pull these out. They look pretty good, I think. Not knowing really what they should look like. I mean, I know roughly what they should look like, but... Alright, then... Oh no, I can just put those in, that's right. So should we do the green ones or the red ones? Let's do the green ones, because I feel like that has less of a chance of mucking about. And I should add more water to this. Like, I think I'm going to do that. Well, I don't know. Because the problem is a lot of the water has boiled off, and so the level of the water in the pot is lower. So you can see what they are when you first put them in. They just sit there at the bottom. They're not moving, they're not rolling around. They're just sitting there cooking. And that's with 1 teaspoon of matcha added in. And it's already coloring the water quite a bit, as you can see. So I may even have to... There we go. I may even have to dump this water... Whoa, sorry. I may even have to dump this water out before I put in the red dango. Yeah, I need more water. That's just true. I hate doing this because this water here is not boiling. It's hot, but it's not boiling. So it's going to lower the overall temperature of that, which means they're not going to cook quite the same way. But yeah, see, it stopped boiling. And that's with just like a quarter of a cup of still very hot water. So I'll let that return to a boil. Add in a little more. Man, that's amazing. But the problem is if there's not enough water there, they're not going to cook. So I'd rather they cook a little more slowly with this. And cook evenly. As long as I don't dump the entire thing in there so the temperature plunges. So right now we're going down by probably 20 degrees Fahrenheit or so. Significant, and probably enough to affect like the cooking of it, but hopefully not enough to completely change it. Right? It'll have minor effects, not major effects, on the cooking. Hopefully, we'll see. Now, cook. Yeah, it did take about like 10 minutes before. Alright, so these... Oh, wow. Whoa. These dumplings are soft. They are very soft. I'm going to show you. Like that's a dumpling right there. That's cool. And very sticky. I mean, rice. Duh. So that's interesting. So I'm going to move those around a little bit. I'm glad I did, because that one of those was sticking a little bit. Okay. I'm going to leave this out, because I'm going to add some more hot water into this. Well, no, I may have to just start over again. That would suck, though. So I think what I'm going to do this time around, I'm going to cook the pink dango in the green water, knowing it's going to affect it. It's going to change the color of it. But I'm okay with that just because of time. I don't want to sit here for another half an hour, getting this pot back up to boiling with a new pot of water. Again, I'll live with that. So that's interesting. So we have our white, we almost have our green. We're on our way to our green. Still just sitting there in the pot. So yeah. So this is good to know that dango take a little while. I wonder how. I mean, technically, you could have like 3 pots going, and just do a whole bunch, and then have them kind of out there on skewers, I suppose. Yeah, I don't see another way of doing it, frankly. I just have to keep a bunch of different pots going. I'm thinking here, like if I had friends over and I wanted to give them dango, I'm thinking I would have to do that because it does. These are like soft, recently cooked dumplings. I do not think they're going to last for hours and hours and hours as they are. But maybe they will. Okay, we're starting to get some movement on the green dango. Some of them are now rotating. I'm going to move them around a little bit to give them some, give them a chance to move around the pot a little. Also, recenter the pot on the burner. Yep, they're now spinning around and rotating. Okay. They seem softer than before, so they don't look as powdery as they did in the past when I put them in. And we're getting floatage. So those are all now floating. All right. So now here's what we're going to do. We're going to try some different things. Like I said, experimentation. So I'm going to pull these out right now. Ah! Hold on. You should see this. So these are already very sticky. I'm going to move these out. I'm giving them obviously much less time than I did the first ones because I want to see what happens. And I'm just kind of experimenting here to see if we may have left the white ones in too long. This may be perfect for all we know. So you can see these are nice and wet. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and add some more hot water to this. It is like a pea green soup color now. Not quite pea soup, but definitely. Okay, there we go. Definitely green is our soup here. So let me go ahead and show you that color there. Actually, more like a brown color. And I'm just gonna go ahead and like do it. I'm gonna. I'll have to play around with this the positioning of the camera. Sorry. Ah. Ah. This does not want to behave. 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 No. Yes. No. What's the deal? It's funny. This was fine, 5 minutes ago. But all of a sudden, now it just can't stay up. All right. You have to do it that way. Okay. That works. There we are. Waiting for the pot to come back to a boil. Which obviously is going to take a few moments, but I'm okay with that. If I put the dumplings in now, they would probably dissolve more or less. Because then it would be like pouring cold water, you're just pouring water over dough, right? It just dissolves. The dough needs the heat to cook. So it would not be a good idea for me to just dump them in there and then wait for the water to come to a boil and then cook them. They'll become waterlogged and so forth. At least based on my experience with other doughs in the past. Obviously, this is my first time with dango, but all right. Now let's test. Okay, that is soft. Not as soft as the other ones. Not as sticky. The white ones feel more like dango. They feel more like a soft dough. The green ones they're pretty soft, but they're not sticky at all. So I do think the extra time in there was good. Though again, that also might be because they are they're heavy. So this set, when I go in, I'm going to leave them in there for even longer. I'm going to try to see if I can get them to float all the way to the top and be bobbing on the surface with a lot of the area exposed. And we'll see what happens. Also curious to see what the green water will do to the pink. And I have to admit that, that single drop of food coloring did make a very nice pink color. So that did work out. All right, that is a good boil there. So we're going to go ahead and carefully drop them in. I could probably slotted spoon them in, but I also like living dangerously. All right, so they're in. And they're, as you can see, they're well below the surface. And so now, basically, we're going to wait and see what happens to these. They're definitely sitting down there. Same behavior as we saw from the first ones. They just sit at the bottom. They don't roll around. They don't move. They just sit there, hopefully cooking. So then when these come out, we will go ahead and spear them and then taste them. See what they taste like. I do not know what to expect. If they taste terrible, then I might throw some sauce on there. Just try some things. I could just sprinkle them with sugar, frankly. Although I don't know. I mean, these are very sticky. Well, no, they're you can work with them a little bit. So they're sticky, but not like so sticky that you couldn't do anything with them. Like not so sticky that they're like binding together forever. I get a little bit of taste of them there, and yeah, they're fairly bland, to be honest. But we'll see once we actually throw them in onto a skewer as a treat. So we'll end up with 4 dango skewers. I'll take this moment to move some things out of the way. And indeed, this is a good moment to grab some soap and do some dishes, and we can talk a bit about this. So I'm doing these dango because this is November, and November for geek archaeology is Japanese cooking month. That is our hobby in Hobby Hopper. A great idea from some members of the community. We try a different hobby every month, and we settled on Japanese cooking this time around. I had this manga cookbook sitting around for a long time. For what it's worth, the dongos still do seem pink. So I grabbed that cookbook and I started making stuff out of the cookbook. And dango are kind of the next things on the list. I'll be honest, there were other things on the list, but they were more entrees, and I wanted something sweet. This was the next dessert, the next sweet treat on the list. So this is what I went to for tonight. Here we are. So I'm going to need to move those around a bit here in a minute. We'll go ahead and... So I'm just going to push them around a bit. Yep, that one was a little stuck. So glad I did that. And now, I can actually clean some of these bowls that we had the dango in. And yeah, I really have been enjoying this particular challenge because Japanese recipes are just different enough that you're not going to just try one out of nowhere most of the time, right? They usually need 1 or 2 ingredients. But once you decide, you know what, I'm going to try some Japanese cooking, it's really just a few common ingredients makes a lot of stuff. So you can definitely get a lot of mileage out of just a few things like dashi stock and nori and sushi rice. In case you're wondering, yes, I do have a dishwasher, but for these sorts of experiments, since I only have a handful of dishes, it's a little silly to load up the dishwasher for half a dozen things as opposed to just doing it. All right, we're starting to see some movement, so I'm going to go ahead and move these around again. Cool, yeah. So we'll just pop those around a little bit. Yeah, they felt a little sticky. All right, now they are bobbling around. They're not quite at the surface yet, but they're definitely roiling around in the pot. That's cool. I'm gonna let you see that. Come on, hello. There we go. So hopefully this is not gonna fall apart again, but you can see how those are bobbing to the surface now, actually. But like I said, we're not gonna pull them out yet. I'm gonna see if we can get them halfway out of the pot. If that's even possible. Is that even possible? We'll find out shortly. Oops. It's hot. So yeah, those have definitely broken the surface. How hot is this? There. And yeah, if we just keep this going, so if we keep it in there, it's going to cook more. It's going to have more heat on it, which might cause it to expand more. So if we notice that they went from denser to more chewy, as we went from the, as we added more time in there, they became more chewy. Hopefully, if we add even more time, they'll get even chewier and lighter. But we will find out. Again, they may not. Also nice to see that they're still pink. So the green tea didn't seem to have any ill effect on them. Now they might taste a little bit tea-like. Oops. But I don't know. We cannot be sure. Yeah. So this is about the stage at which I took the white ones out. There's a fair amount on the surface. Not just cresting the surface, but up. So instead of being, just barely on the surface, we're now seeing like that much on the surface, maybe. And so we're going to leave them in there for another few minutes and see if they pop out even further. And the nice thing is, because they move around a lot, I don't have to stir this. I'm not bouncing around, shoving these things in different directions. So it's nice not having to deal with keeping a sharp eye on them. I'm just waiting for them to get to a particular point. They do not appear to be much further out of the pot, so let's give them 2 minutes and see if they've gotten any further out of the pot at that point. And they do feel like they're rising somewhat, but let's give them some significant more time and see what we get. And then we will assemble our dango. While we're at it, let me. So here is some, just some store brand teriyaki sauce. So again, if they end up kind of tasteless, I'll just drizzle some of this on here and see if that improves things. So we're about a minute in to our 2 minutes, and they do seem, they are higher on the surface of the water. So perhaps they all need to go that far, that long. I don't know. This is why we try things out, to find out this kind of stuff. Interesting. We are learning about dango. Traditional Japanese cuisine doesn't have a lot in the way of sweets. There are a lot of sweets in Japan in general, but they tend to be cookies and cakes and Western style pastries and patisserie and that kind of stuff. And there's some amazing, obviously, Japanese cooks making that stuff. But in terms of like the traditional foods, there are a few traditional candies. But in terms of variety, the variety really exploded when you got Western style desserts, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so that's 2 minutes, and these are definitely higher up. I'm going to give them a little more time, actually. I like the idea let's just really let those rise and see what happens. This is a single floor condo, which is rather nice. As you all may know, my last place was 2 stories, and going up and down those stairs could be a hassle. And so I do like having just the single floor going back and forth. Not that I'm, not that I have any significant problems getting around, but it is nice. My sponge has seen a lot of action in the past week or two, and I'm probably going to need to replace it here. It's just falling apart. Not quite sure why it's so beat up. 2 more of these dishes to clean out. These bowls. About a minute into that 2 minutes. There we are. Is it firm or no? They're supposed to be soft, but with I wouldn't call them firm. No. They're supposed to be like a dumpling. So firm enough to hold together, right? They shouldn't like fall apart on you. But they're supposed to be soft and chewy, more than anything else. Again, just kind of from what little I've seen. All right. So as you can see, they've risen to the top, but they haven't really gotten much higher than they did a few minutes ago. So I'm going to pull these out. Still a nice pink color, so that green obviously did not do too much, which is good to know. Cool, so these, to me, look like dango. Just move that out of the way. And then I need another plate. Let's see if we can do a little something here. Can we move this down, or is it going to fall? It really wanted to fall before, but I'm hoping if I position it just right, it will just kind of hold. It's supposed to hold. It's not supposed to be. Okay, that'll work. And these are very hot, obviously, so I can't move them on just this second. All right. Though they're cooling off pretty quickly. Yeah, there's nothing else in here about how to deal with them. So again, it looks like pink on the bottom. Gosh, I want to do these now, but those are right out of boiling water. I can't just grab them and put them on. I need to wait a few moments. I thought dango was supposed to be warm, but maybe not. Maybe it's okay for them to be just room temperature. I had not thought about that. So let's give them a few moments to cool down. So again, I've got these 8-inch skewers that I can go all, I can go all Logan with. And I'll use these for the dango. I'll also use these for, what's the term for it? When you have it's skewers, so it's like shish kebab, but Japanese style. The size are a little bigger than the standard size. I think you're right. Yes, these look a little big. Now, granted, I mean this is my thumb, right? So they're not huge, but you're right. I think they're bigger than standard dango. So that's a note for the future. These are probably more like 2-bite size dango. All right. Can't wait any longer. Skewer. This is so gooey. Maybe they need to. They need to wait a little bit. Like, I'm afraid this is gonna fall apart. Yeah, that's a mistake. Ooh, and that's very sticky. Okay. I need another skewer, actually. Yeah, we need a moment for the dango to... I'm sorry, you couldn't see that. Let me switch over. So, as I was pushing the pink dango on, it just started to smoosh. It looks okay here, but it's now got a bit of a hole in there, so I think I need to wait a moment or so. Exactly. My dango are a good size. So I do need to wait a moment for the actually, again, I have no idea which direction they should go in, so I'm going to try the other way around. Oops. And then some white. And just stick the pink on the end. Yeah, that's a little too soft. I will admit that I am rushing this because I want these dango to be done. You can see I'm getting some green on there, but it looks like once I push the white on, it kind of cleans that off. Not really. Okay. And there we go. Whew. That is hot. Yeah, I do think that I should wait for these pink ones to chill out. Literally. But, you know, a little bit of that. Oh, there's a red bean paste on it. Yeah. I do have some red bean paste in the pantry. Huh. 1 second. Some of this dango doesn't want to come off my finger. Needs a little bit more action. There we are. And now we will do the last one. Exactly. Johnny Depp's good in everything, right? All right. You can see how much is sticking to my fingers just as it is. Very, very sticky, but that is apparently part of it. Look at this last one on here. All right. Ladies and gents, I do believe we made some dango. So once I get my hands cleaned off, because gosh, these are sticky, I'm going to try one. Yeah, it sure feels that way. I mean, this stuff just does not want to come off. Which is why you have the skewers. So, first off, not too bad. Not too shabby. There's the thumbnail. Alright. So, moment of truth. Let's start with a pink. That's disgusting. Ah. 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 That is absolutely horrible. Okay. So, first off, no sweetness. The sugar does not come through at all. I mean, probably if I like really searched for it, I could find it a little bit, but no. It's grainy. It tastes like undercooked dough. It tastes like dough, frankly. Like if you just took a bite of raw bread dough, that's what this tastes like. So, it is not pillowy. It's not light at all. It's heavy. Okay. All right. That's actually better. Because of the matcha. That has flavor, and the flavor kind of masks the horrible taste and consistency. Yeah, no, this is Play-Doh. This tastes like Play-Doh. Not that I've ever eaten Play-Doh to my knowledge, but if I had, this is what it would be like. Okay, so that was a failure. That was completely wrong. So, duly noted. So now we know what to do. Obviously, we're done for the night in terms of we're not going to do this again tonight. But now I know what to do. A, more water in the dough. So it's going to be more pillowy and it's going to be more soft and supple. So that when we boil it, it should puff up. If it's puffed up and it was lighter, then it's not going to have this heavy bready flavor. Again, I love bread, but this is uncooked bread kind of a flavor. That should help with that a lot. Also, I'm going to add more sugar. I have a sweet tooth in general, but just I think these need a little bit more of a punch of sweetness. Just to give them some flavor at all, frankly. I think if they're puffed up, they'll be that will improve the general flavor of it. But I would like a little bit more sweetness in this. So okay, looks great. Oh, but tastes terrible. Like that is going straight in the trash. No question. Just no, never, no. I would not feed that to my dog if I had a dog. So duly noted. I think I'm going to come back and try this again later. In fact, I know I will. And I might do it live on stream. But I would like to come back and this is interesting. And the advantage is, as you saw, really all you're doing is bringing the dough together, rolling it into balls, and then just popping them into boiling water. It's a very easy recipe. I could have been doing other stuff while these were cooking, and then just coming back and pulling them off. So as a treat, I think these make sense. I think this is a food I want to learn how to make, but I have not yet. These are not that thing. So, all right, we know that. The other thing is, would the sauce help? No, the sauce would not help at all, because all the sauce would do, it would be like putting sauce on Play-Doh and eating that. Now it's going to taste less like Play-Doh, but you're still eating Play-Doh. You don't want to do that. So no, and part of the problem is it is just such a heavy, dense thing. It's just unpleasant to eat. The sauce would at least help with the flavor. But no, that's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Right. But we know now. We tried it and we experimented. And the important thing is, I feel like this was a failure, but I don't feel like dango is inaccessible. This feels like something we have to tweak the recipe, and the fact that I came across a bunch of different ways of making it tells me that this might just be a bad recipe, which is fine. So I think I can find something. Interestingly, is your least favorite thing you made in your cooking vids? Yes, I cannot think of anything I have made yet that tasted as bad as that. Granted, I made stuff that just like burned and was unedible or inedible, right? Like I didn't even eat it because it was just black tar. But in terms of stuff I tried eating, yep, that's the bottom. That is the minimum of everything. So I'm gonna try with some other things. I found some other recipes where instead of water you put in tofu, and use that as the liquid. So that'll be interesting to try out. But yeah, we'll see. You know, if they're I don't know what you're talking about. Ah! Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working on dango, but lesson learned. All right, that's gonna do it for us for tonight. Thank you all so much. This is a lot of fun. Glad you all could join me, especially you folks in the chat room. You're great. It's great having some color commentary as we're running around. I should be back next week with more Workshop Wednesday. Maybe dango, may not be. It should still be some. I think we still have. Next Wednesday is the day before Thanksgiving. So we'll see what's going on there. Who knows? But yeah, that'll do it. Thank you all so much. Good night.